Holbrook Travel is excited to be bringing you this webinar today. We are broadcasting live from the rainforests of Costa Rica with expert naturalist guide Iván Castillo and his cameraman Luis Vega. Thank you, Luis, as well. For those of you who have joined us for our webinars before, this is obviously a slightly different format from what we've done in the past, but we're excited to try something new and also hopefully raise some awareness for a good cause. After a brief introduction, we'll turn it over to Iván, and he's going to guide us around some of the trails at Selva Verde Lodge in Costa Rica. We hope for this to be an interactive experience to the extent that that's possible. So if you have any questions for Iván or want a closer look at something, you can add those to the Q&A on Zoom throughout the presentation or on the comments on Facebook if you're joining us via Facebook Live. And we'll try to address those as we go as much as we can. If the weather and technology cooperate, we expect the hike to take about 20 to 30 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap from there. So, as I mentioned, our expert guide today is Iván Castillo. Some of you may know Iván from your own visits to Selva Verde Lodge. As of December, Iván has gone on to become a guide at the national level, but today he's returning to his home turf to take us around Selva Verde. Iván was part of the Selva Verde family for 16 years, most recently as the lead naturalist guide. He specializes in natural history, especially birds, and his educational background includes a degree in sustainable tourism management, as well as completing the natural guide course at the world-renowned La Selva Biological Station, which, as some of you know, is right around the corner from Selva Verde. Iván is also on the board of the Sarapiquí Conservation Learning Center, or the SCLC, or SECOS, as some of you may know it. In addition to sharing a taste of the rainforest with you during this live event, he also hopes to raise awareness about the work that the center does. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Andrea Holbrook, President and CEO of Holbrook Travel, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about our venue today. Welcome, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, and it's so great to see you, Iván and Luis. I feel right at home, it's such a pleasure to have you join us in Sarapiquí, Costa Rica for this virtual tour. When I looked over the list of registrants, I saw so many friends joining us. It was exciting to see your names. In some cases, folks that we've known for, gosh, going on 2 decades or longer, and some new friends that maybe have never been to Costa Rica or to Selva Verde yet. I know I speak for everyone at Selva Verde, Holbrook Travel, and the Sarapiquí Conservation Learning Center when I say that I hope we succeed in making you feel for the space of this tour somehow that you are in Sarapiquí and that you can feel the intense humidity, smell some of the pungent smells, and experience just a bit of the thrill that is the biodiversity of the rainforest, as well as learning a little bit about the Learning Center located on the lodge grounds, learning about what we do and how it connects with what Iván will be sharing with us and the people of Sarapiquí as well. For those of us joining us for perhaps the first time, Selva Verde Lodge is a lodge and reserve located in Chilamate, Sarapiquí. Of course, Iván will be sharing more about that. I was privileged to live there for almost 2 years in the early 90s, where I got my start in tourism as a coordinator at the lodge, and where I became involved with the Learning Center, and most importantly, where I learned to salsa, cumbia, and merengue. The Learning Center is a nonprofit organization focused on connecting communities and conservation through access to knowledge and the promotion of sustainable livelihoods. Our main programs are our semi-public library. The center is currently the only library in the canton, and it has close to 4,000 volumes. Our library is more than books and a computer lab, but it's also a social, cultural, and vocational enrichment center in which a whole series of activities take place. It's kids coming to the center to see movies. It's a women's artisan group, Morfa. It's the coordination of a full orchestra, the Banda de Conciertos, coming to rural areas in our region. And it's volunteers like Susan Drew, who have taught sewing and baking for the last year. Our English as a second language classes are at all levels and from beginning to advanced, and usually have about 200 students annually in 3 semesters, mostly adults, but about 1/4 are children. We've also been able to offer French, which is important because of the importance of the European tourism industry. Our community rural tourism, also called impact tourism, are activities that are grassroots tourism activities, things like dance classes, cooking classes, homestays with the local family, or a reforestation activity in a local farm. This kind of tourism has two important benefits. It serves to help spread the benefits of tourism into the local economy, which is really important for sustainable livelihoods. And for visitors, it provides an amazing experience to see life in Costa Rica as it really is in the rural areas, to have an experience of café choreado and many other great things. And in terms of conservation, it's mostly through the programs that I mentioned, the library and extension programming, the ESL, the rural tourism, which is really how we work to empower local people, especially women, in an important way. And also, in addition, the Learning Center has been involved with the San Juan La Selva Biological Corridor, an ongoing initiative that is part of the Mesoamerican Biological Corridor. And this local group of more than 10 organizations in Sarapiquí, including La Selva Biological Station, Tirimbina, and many other important stakeholders, work together to try and ensure connectivity within the landscape for the benefit of fauna and flora and the protection of biodiversity. So our new director, Dr. Giselle Monge, came aboard in March of this year. And boy, what a month to come aboard when the pandemic hit. But Giselle has over 20 years experience co-directing the Great Green Macaw Research and Conservation Program with the Tropical Science Center in our region. And she's very eager to get working and continue working in our community. The total absence of tourism has heavily impacted the Learning Center, and that's why we're hoping to raise awareness and funds, and our goal is to raise 15,000 by December. But before going any further and without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Iván Castillo, who together with the cameraman has spent many hours helping us put this tour together for you. And I won't keep you any longer from just seeing the beauty of Sarapiquí. We're gonna have a brief visit of the Learning Center, and then we're heading out on the trail. Over to you, Iván.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to share a little bit of the rainforest, to share a little bit of Sarapiquí. My name is Iván Castillo, and it's been a while since I was in the forest, I was in the field, sharing what we love. And this is a really good opportunity, even that it's in a different format, virtual. I'm really happy we were willing to do it. This guy, Luis Vega, I want to introduce Luis Vega, which is also a naturalist, and he was also willing to share what he loves, which is nature. And this is an opportunity that we really appreciate. But before we start, let me show you where we are. Map right here, small piece of land is Costa Rica interest. In Sarapiquí, this is where we are, right here. This is Chilamate. Sarapiquí is located on this area. This is Sarapiquí on the area. This is our capital, San Jose. And the airport is at the west. This is the airport, which is Juan Santa Maria. There is another airport at the northwest of the country, Guanacaste, but most people use this one. And then you go through the mountains of the Braulio Carrillo National Park, beautiful national park, all the way down to the lowlands. And this is where we are. So this is a really good habitat for the poison dart frogs. We have 3 kinds. And they like this concentration of leaves. Let me show you just to give you an idea what's a good habitat for the poison dart frogs. This is perfect. Concentration of leaf where the moisture remains, and that's much more comfortable because they're amphibians. They require the moisture. So I'm pretty sure there are many of them inside. Of course, they don't want to be too obvious, even that they are poisonous, right? But let me give it a try. Okay. There is a blue jeans poison dart frog. Just follow me right there. Okay, come slowly, slowly, slowly. It's in a really nice position. Okay, don't go away, don't go away. Be friendly. Okay, there it is. Okay, jumping. Okay, this is a blue jeans poison dart frog. It's close to the sidewalk, but we are where the animals are, and this is a really good spot to see them. Pay attention to those dark blue legs, and then the red is mostly red. That's why it's called blue jeans poison dart frog. But in some areas in Costa Rica, they call them strawberry poison dart frogs, because instead of having, these blue pants like me, so they are, I would say they are naked in the middle of the forest. They have no blue pants. They have just blue dots on the back. And yes, they are poisonous. Poisonous for a bird, poisonous for a snake, eventually not too poisonous for a human. But even so, remember that we don't have to touch the animals. By the way, I have a second one. Green and black poison. Okay. Right. Follow my finger. Listen to the macaws. Listen to the macaws, but be focused on the. Okay. That's a green and black poison dart frog. Pay attention to the spots, black spots, green with black spots. It seems like these frogs, they have it's a similar, I would say, characteristic of jaguars, for example. They have their own markings. Oh, zebras. That we can tell that this is Carlos, and then Luis should be in another way, Maria, and somewhere else. But, by basically seeing the spots, right? So this is a really good habitat, even that is close to the buildings, and because of the concentration of leaf. That species that we just saw is called the green and black poison dart frog, and green and black poison dart frog, and it has much more concentration of the dendrovaccine neurotoxic that they have. They're basically bigger than the one that we saw, the blue jeans. Not often you hear them because their call is quite low. They go like, but really low. But listen. Okay, well, there is this loud cicada, but recently, a couple seconds ago, one of them was calling. The blue jeans was calling. It goes like. Now it's quiet. We might find another one. All right, let's continue because time is running. So we're ready. So 2 of the 3 species of poison dart frogs that we have in Selva Verde. And by the way, I was mentioning about the call. There is another one right here on this pipe. That's a male. I can tell because they have a vocal sac. Basically, they absorb air. They absorb air from the mouth, send it to their lungs, and then from the lungs, the air goes to the vocal cords, and then from the vocal cords, it goes to the sac. So like acoustic box, a box, like a guitar. When you play a guitar, the box increase the sound, the acoustic. So that's why they're really loud. They're this little. You have no idea how loud they are in relation to their size. It's an amazing adaptation. Okay, I'm gonna show you a plant that is uncommon, not often you find it. Hopefully you can see these yellow pots. Those are it's actually a wild cacao or cocoa, really similar to Teoroma cacao, which is a species that is used to prepare chocolate. This is a species that you find in the forest, and that's full size, and it's edible as well. All right, let's continue.
Iván, we have a question.
Question.
Are the
Sí.
frogs always so close to the building, or are they staying close because there are fewer tourists around?
Okay, actually they are always around depending on the weather, depending on the habitat. We know specific areas close to the buildings and where there is a good concentration of leaf is dark, you know, because we have tall trees here, and that's a perfect habitat. We know that we can find them here. Today, for example, is overcast, so the temperature is really convenient to find them. So basically, the answer is there are specific places where you can find them according to the conditions, regarding the weather, and it could be close to the buildings. So we know we have a good spot close to the buildings. But if you go to the forest, like deeper in the forest, it will be easier to find them because those conditions are everywhere. It's always dark because the forest is dark. The concentration of leaf litter is much more, and moisture remains for longer periods of time. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
Here, this is the border of the river. The river used to be closer, but we have a flash flood a few years ago that modified the area. But now we have a concentration of trees. The most common is the horsewhip tree. The one that I mentioned is really good for parrots. And when we have migratory birds, because this is a route for migratory birds, a lot of migratory birds passing through, let's say from September, more or less, all the way up to March. When these trees are blooming, they have like a white blossom. It's really attractive for the migratory birds, especially warblers, because when the flower is decomposing, getting old, there is a larvae, you know, it's a butterfly, caterpillar that feeds on. So it's really interesting. During the blossom of that tree, we go there and wait for the warblers, like chestnut-sided warblers. Probably you're familiar with some of them. For example, we find a lot of yellow warblers, black and white. Oh, black and white warbler, love it. Often we find them there. Okay, we're gonna continue this way. Earlier, Andrea mentioned about the name of this town. The town is called Chilamate. Chilamate is the name of a tree. It's a giant tree that is there. It's a really common tree in this area. You can find them in different parts of the country. It's related to figs, ficus. This is a really big one. And it's really good for iguanas, monkeys, all kinds of birds. And also fish, you know, because often you find this tree growing close to the river. When a pig drops into the water, you see the machacas and other cichlids feeding on. Vámonos.
We have another question, Iván.
Question. Sí.
Another question about the 3 species of poison dart frogs. Do they all eat the same kinds of insects?
A little bit frozen.
Small insects. Also, they eat small beetles and millipedes. And it seems like that's how they absorb the poison. They absorb the poison from their food, and then they synthesize those alkaloids. They have this particular glands. They synthesize and then send it to the glands, and then they sweat the poison. So that's a good question, because food is the reason why they are poisonous. There are studies done. For example, I have a friend in New York. They did a study. They had a poison dart frogs in a lab. They were feeding them with ants, but they were ants from that area, right? Guess what? They were testing the concentration of the alkaloids, no poison within a few days, a few weeks. So that means food is really important for them to be poisonous. And this is why, you know, conservation is really important. You have to preserve the environment, the habitat, all these conditions that I mentioned earlier, to have their food. If they have enough food, they can have, they can feed themselves, but also protect themselves by absorbing those alkaloids. So yeah, ants, you know, ants are also part of their food, and pretty much they eat, those species, they eat pretty much the same thing. Ants, millipedes, mosquitoes, and eventually fruit flies. Thanks for the question. All right, I'm gonna do my best to show you a dinosaur. Let's see. Hopefully this dinosaur is waiting for us. Yes. This is a dinosaur that he loves Selva Verde. Stay around Selva Verde pretty much in the same tree. And we want to do something that we call digiscoping. For the ones that are not familiar with digiscoping, it's having a cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone nowadays, right? And then we have a scope. So what we do, basically, well, first of all, you know, to look through to the scope, you gotta close one eye and look through, right? But with the cell phone, we go with the cell phone on the eyepiece, which is this section. And we're gonna show you the dinosaur through this cell phone, through the digiscoping, right there. Look at that. Of course, it's not a dinosaur, but it's a reptile.
Wow, we see it clearly, Iván. It's like crystal clear.
Cool. You know what? And I got an idea. You know, these species, I mean, these individuals being for a while around here, we need to name it.
Okay.
I definitely want to have a name. It's gonna be my personal name for these individuals. So please, I would like to, you know, have some suggestions from, you know, the people who is watching us. So pay attention to the dewlap, which is that fan on the throat. That's called the dewlap. That's like a heat sensor, because it's a reptile. They require the temperature from the environment, using that heat sensor. Basically, sunlight is gonna come and hit that fan, that dewlap, and that's how they're gonna warm up their body and then get energy. Even that they look like carnivorous, and it's actually a big individual. It's like what, maybe 5 feet. They feed on leaf. They prefer leaf, and sometimes you see them eating. If they find a banana on the floor, they're gonna eat it. But they are mainly vegetarian, and most of the time on the trees. Yeah,
Iván, we have some suggestions for names, and one of them is, guess what? Iván. So someone else. So we'll be sharing all these names with you, Hernando, Harry, Spike, and Iván. But so we have a question here. Can iguanas see infrared light?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer, but I mean, I would like to find that if somebody maybe that is watching us knows the answer, will be really
great.
good. That way we can learn. Yeah,
for sure.
Because, yeah, I don't know the answer, but it's interesting, you know. So actually, iguanas are a good swimmers. So they spend most of the time on the tree like that, looking for the new leaves, like new shoots to eat, which is probably easier to digest because it has less fiber and cellulose. But then if they require, in case of emergency, let's say there is a black hawk eagle, like trying to catch them, they're gonna jump and go into the water. They're gonna use their tail as a propel, and swim away. They can spend a good amount of time in the bottom. So it's really interesting. Iguanas are lazy, they are there chilling all the time because they don't have to do much for their food, So yeah.
Iván, what species of iguana is that? And can you tell if it's a male or a female?
Good. Okay, that species, Luis is gonna show you. It's called the green iguana. Even if that it doesn't look green, it's called the green iguanas. When they are young, the first weeks, when they hatch from the eggs, they are bright green. But it's called green iguana. The scientific name is easy. That was the first name that I learned. So easy. Iguana. So, and that's a male because it has the big dewlap right there, and it has a scale. Remember that it's a reptile. It has a scale on the cheeks, like a circular scale, which is really it's bigger in relation to the one of the female. Also size. I know that you don't have the perspective of the size now, but it's big. During mating season or breeding season, mainly at the beginning of December, they turn orange. Males is really interesting how they change the color. They look beautiful, believe me. And then that's when you see serious fights. Oh, you don't want to be there. Yeah, they fight. Could be fighting on the trees, on the ground. Males fighting for territory. Yeah, but.
So Iván, we had an answer. Some folks coming forward saying that according to Google, only some snakes can see infrared light. Most reptiles cannot.
Good. That's how we learn.
Great.
Good. All right, let's continue. We saw the dinosaur. It seems like we have a name, but we are still open for more suggestions for a name of that species. And okay, let's see. I'm gonna do my best to show you what I call the rock star of Costa Rica. Yeah. That's my opinion about this species. I'm gonna give it a try. This is a perfect habitat. Believe me, one of the best spots in Costa Rica to find them. This species, this rock star, could be found at the Caribbean side of the country and also at the Pacific side of the country. They look different. The color pattern is different. I believe all of them are beautiful. I love all the animals. For me, all of them are nice. But this one here, the Caribbean side, is nicer. This could be controversial because my colleagues will be saying the same thing at the Pacific side. But well, that's a different story. Okay. First of all, I'm going to explain you a little bit of the habitat of this rock star. We have leaves around here, but most of them are big leaf, like philodendrons. There is a type of philodendron over there, mainly big leaf. And then there is water. There's a pond right there, still water. That means this water doesn't move. It has a good concentration of leaf, which is really important for them. So right now we have the ingredients, right? Particular ingredients. Now, let me show you. This is a little surprise that we found earlier. Okay. I'm gonna move this really gentle. And Luis, careful with the iguana poop. There you go.
Can you see those bubbles?
Oh, yeah.
All right, those bubbles are not bubbles, are the eggs of the red-eyed tree frog,
Wow.
our rock star. Because it's really famous. Everybody knows that frog. And this is a frog that has a complete metamorphosis. That means it has eggs. It has, we saw the eggs already. How cool is that? And there we have tadpoles. These eggs will stay there for about 1 week, more or less. And then they're gonna drop into the pond right there. They spend 3 months. I have to say this, for me, to see one of these rock stars, one of the red-eyed tree frogs, is a miracle. Why? First of all, here they have a lot of predators, the eggs. We have wasps, we have snakes. Snakes love it, especially the cat eyes snake. A lot of predators. Then, if they make it, they're gonna drop into the water. And then 3 months there, more or less. But there are some individuals, brothers and sisters that are stronger, and some of them are weaker. Natural selection is gonna work there, right? A little bit sad, but they're gonna eat each other eventually. And also there are tadpoles of other species, like a smoky jungle frog, which is the largest frog of Costa Rica with big tadpoles. They eat a lot. So then if they make it, they're gonna come out as a young stage. That's why it's called complete metamorphosis. The young stage is what I call, personally, the teenager stage. Why? Because they're a combination between a tadpole and a frog. So they are in a point that they don't know what they are. Sometimes happens when you are a teenager. I'm a kid, I'm an adult. I don't know. Well, so the thing is, they are really vulnerable because they come out of the water and then they have to, find a leaf or find a spot. That's when flycatchers and snakes and other predators come and take it. Okay. And think about the miracle, of seeing a frog, right? Okay. Then we're gonna do our best. Hopefully we can show you one. Luis is gonna show a little bit of some of the plants that we have around that are their favorite. By the way, they are nocturnal. They are sleeping now. They sleep underneath of the leaf. They wake up around in the evening around 6, more or less, Costa Rican time, and then they go on top of the leaf. What we find here next to this habitat are males. Why is that? Because the males are waiting for the females to come, because there is a habitat. We have the conditions. They have their conditions for reproduction, right? Females, because they are bigger, they have to produce their eggs. They require much more protein. They don't want to have that competition of being concentrated in one point, just eating and competing for food. If they go far in the forest, they might have more chances. And then when they have eggs, because they come here with a lot of eggs, and they look for a male, they go on amplexus. Amplexus is basically, I think it's a word that came from the Greek that means to hug. Amplexus. In Costa Rica, we have just one type of amplexus, which is axillary amplexus. That means the male is smaller. He's gonna hug the female using front legs, under the armpit of the female. So, and then they go and lay their eggs underneath of the leaf, as we saw it there. Follow me. Vamos. So yes, there is one here, still there. We saw it early, but we were, sometimes when temperature rise, they look for a different spot, even that they are sleeping. This one, it's okay, it's still there. I'm gonna set the scope. We're gonna do the same thing. Remember that we already practiced. Remember, you have to close one eye. Just kidding. That's the rock star of Costa Rica. The red-eyed tree frog is also known as a red-eyed leaf frog, Agalinis calidrias. And this is a male, as I mentioned. It's challenging to find them because what they do in order to camouflage, you know, they don't want to be too obvious. They don't want to be too attractive as they are. So what they do, you know, they're gonna close their eyes because they are too beautiful, you know, to be exposed during the day. So then they have a webbing, a membrane between the fingers. So they go like this. You don't see them. Then they have blue on one side and blue on the other side, blue in between the ankles. So basically, to cover this blue, they're gonna use their front legs. They go like this, big, no orange, no blue. And then they go like, they're gonna cover the blue in between the legs and the ankles. That's why they look all green. And then the intensity of the green goes down just to blend in with the leaf. And that's how they, there you have it. We have, which is this, these species are not poisonous like the one that we saw. They might taste bad for some of the predators. Pay attention to the texture. The texture of the back, it mimics a little bit of the texture of the leaf. In
Iván,
order to, hola, sí?
how does it hang on while it's sleeping?
Yes, Andrea? Good question. Okay. It looks like I think it's snoring. So that's the way that they sleep, by using the suction caps. And they can walk, you know, underneath of the leaf. Even, you know, the female, which is this big, could be this big. Male is this big. That's a male. So the male on the back of the female, and she could be hanging underneath of the leaf. It's an amazing adaptation, which is an adaptation to move through the leaf because they are arboreal. Also, as a tree frog, their hind legs are really long. So they can jump and almost parachute from tree to tree or from one leaf to another leaf. And because they are not really poisonous as the poisonous frogs are, jumping away, it's one of their surviving strategies as well. So probably you are wondering, you know, about those pictures that you see where the red eyes are so attractive, and the blue and the orange. But yeah, now they don't want to be too obvious, as I mentioned, because there are predators in here. One of the main predators of the adults are snakes, in particular the green vine snakes. It's really interesting because we have the northern cat-eyed snake, which is a predator of the eggs. And then during the adult stage, mainly the vine snakes are the ones that are more like looking for them most of the time. Yeah, that's a rock star. This is the habitat, the perfect habitat for them. Now we're gonna continue. We're gonna walk a bit more. We saw the toucans earlier, not too far from here. Okay. Let's see, we're gonna check. There is a tree right now that has nuts for the toucans. We have 3 kinds of toucans as well that you find normally, and then there are 2 more that eventually show up. They are in higher elevations, middle elevations, close to the volcanoes, and then they do something that is called altitudinal migration. that's another reason why Selva Verde is really diverse. It's because we have this this behavior of birds and other animals that, depending the weather and the food, trees, flowers, they're gonna move down, find a better place to eat. And we are connected by forests. There is La Selva Biological Station here, and then behind, and then Braulio Carrillo National Park. And through that biological corridor, a good amount of birds count. For the birders that are watching us, for
Yvonne,
example,
sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to let you know we're very close on time. We just have a couple of minutes left. So I'm so sorry because I feel like we're just getting started, but I wanted to just give you a heads up.
okay, good. So yeah, well, there's not enough time always here. We have a lot of things to show you, even that we are doing this way virtually. But yeah, I was talking about the connection. The biological corridor is so important that SECOS has the office, you know, the headquarters of the biological corridors are found in SECOS, and the effort that they do and all these meetings that they have to make decisions in order to increase the forest cover, and also the connection with the government, you know, contact with decision makers is so important. That's why SECOS, it's really important nonprofit organization. As a nature lover, you know, as a tour guide, also Luis is a tour guide, we always want to do something regarding the protection of the environment, because basically we eat from nature. It's not just the eco services that we get from nature, fresh air, food, fibers, and all that. But we as a tour guide, we eat from nature because we are working, we are sharing nature and spreading the voice of the conservation and the beauty of nature. We want always to do something regarding the protection, you know, like basically to return something to nature. And for me, it's been a pleasure, it's an honor to be part of the board of the Sarapiquí Conservation Learning Center, because that's my way to do it. So unfortunately, we are running out of time. And I really appreciate all of you that are watching right now. For the ones that I know, I was reading some of the names, but my memory is not working pretty well. Probably didn't have enough coffee this morning, but I read some of the names. I really appreciate those comments, people that came to Selva Verde before, and we spent time in the forest. And yeah, I want to say thank you for being once in here in Costa Rica. For the ones that haven't been in Costa Rica, I would like to invite you to come and visit Selva Verde. When you are in Selva Verde, go to the Learning Center, which is a nonprofit organization that I represent, that is next door.
Thank you so much, Iván. Thank you again. And we really appreciate what you've shared with us today. And I know that with the technical difficulties, you know, it's pretty miraculous to be all together in Sarapiquí, and I feel like we've been together with you.
Good. All right, and by the way, remember that donations are really important to keep running the Learning Center and run all these programs with the kids, with adults, environmental education, English class, computers. So thanks a lot, and stay healthy. Big hugs to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Iván, and thank you also to Luis. Before everybody jumps off, I hope to just share with you really quickly that we have up on the screen, you'll see a link. If you are able and feel inclined, we would invite you to consider making a donation to the Sarapiquí Conservation Learning Center to support some of the important programs that they're doing. There's a QR code that you can scan. I'm also going to put the link into the chat right now so you can copy it from there as well. And so again, we just invite you to consider making a donation if you're able. And then before we wrap up, I'll just I'll very briefly let you know that we have another webinar scheduled for next Wednesday, June 17th, back at our normal afternoon time of 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. To the Ends of the Earth, Pushing the Limits with Todd Gustafson. To the Ends of the Earth is a 3-part series of books and PBS documentaries from the eye of award-winning nature photographer, Todd Gustafson. Todd's going to be joining us, and he'll share the story behind the series and take us on a vicarious journey to see the beauty and behaviors of the world's most dynamic species. Profits from To the Ends of the Earth project support Jane Goodall's many conservation programs. So we hope that you can join us and learn more about that. And we'll celebrate the world's beauty and be a part of this initiative to protect the endangered species that inhabit our delicate planet. So with that, we will conclude our virtual hike today. Thank you again so much to Iván and to Luis behind the camera, and to all of you who joined us and worked through the early connectivity issues with us. We appreciate your patience and your understanding. There's always a little bit of, a surprise element when you're doing a live event like this. So we do appreciate everyone sticking with us. The presentation has been recorded. And lastly, we hope that we can welcome you back to Costa Rica soon. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.